Welcome. I'm Dr. DrRademaker, prescription for your transformation, hashtag real people, hashtag real conversations. And this is an exciting day today. Once again, we're doing this kind of simulcast sort of thing, simultaneously on Blab as well as on the radio. And delighted again to be talking to Jenn Edwards and my producer here, Blade. So this is going to be exciting talk again. And it always comes back down to the same thing. It's what we don't know. And Jennifer is an amazing human being because there's such a brightness and such a light around her. It's sort of like, everybody just has to gravitate towards her because she's got this energy. And basically, she's dialed into some secrets that you're going to just simply want to know. And the secrets are about your health. She is a body transformation coach. And so understanding what that really means is that if your body is not functioning in that place where you want it to function. And the best way to tell that is when it doesn't feel right, and which is probably about 90% of the population, at least here in the United States. Because when you think about it, our entire experience on a daily basis depends on a healthy body. Your body is your temple. And without having that foundation being really solid, then it's really hard to have the best kinds of experience in your life. And so it's exciting to be talking to Jenn because she's dialed into these secrets that can help you transform your body so that you got this healthy and vital and an incredible body so that you can have an incredible life. So welcome, Jenn.
Hey, thanks. That was a great intro to a great show. So I appreciate that, Dr. Bart.
I appreciate that. And just Bart for this. Come on, let's
All right.
be friends so we know. So, and Blade, thank you for being our producer today, making it all happen. Mm-hmm. And as I was sharing with him earlier, he looks better in person than on pictures. So just had to get that out there. So Jenn, we were talking earlier and, the summer's coming up and it's interesting being a plastic surgeon and seeing the kind of sort of angst that people have, in the springtime. It's like, oh my gosh, the summer's coming up and I look like whatever, what I want to say. I try to be polite on the show, but, and then people are desperately trying to change their life. And, January happens, everybody has their New Year's resolutions that last perhaps, a couple of weeks at best. And now spring comes, getting ready for the summer, and everybody's freaking out. So how do you help people? What do you tell people to get ready for the summer?
Well, in the wintertime, we cover up with all of our clothes and we get to wear baggier clothes and more of them, unless you live in Phoenix. Maybe you get away with a little bit less, less of the year. But anyway, we're able to cover up. And then springtime comes and we start thinking about bathing suits and summertime. And then we start to get down on ourselves because we've let ourselves go over the wintertime. And a lot of people want a really quick fix. A lot of people want to do a wrap or take a pill or drink a shake and think that they're going to get in shape and ready for the summertime and ready to wear that bikini. And as a body transformation coach, I'm very much into health and into fitness. So it's more than just taking stuff and all of that. It's working out. Like I said, I was coaching someone today, and like I said to him, no one's going to do your own push-ups, and no one's going to do your sit-ups for you. You've got to do them yourself. So I firmly believe in making sure that you work out on a regular basis and that you're eating and you're feeding your body and giving your body what it needs in order to thrive and be energetic and live in that vitality.
So, but here's what I find fascinating, right? Is because there's so many people out there, who want this. And it's just like you said, I mean, they're looking also for the quick fix, which is not possible. I mean, being healthy is really a daily activity. It's a constant focus and to make sure that you're consistent with things. So where's the problem, do you know? I mean, where is it? Why is it that people are less focused on something like this than on, say, buying the right pair of shoes?
I think it's a number of things. One of the things is not being educated
Mhm.
And, you know, and what I mean by that is that there's plenty of education out there. You got to exercise, you got to eat right. But for some reason, and I'll give you an example. I was on a Facebook chat with several ladies over last week, and one of them is a nurse, and she was talking about going on a specific pill that was a prescription drug that was going to help her with something that was going on with her female organs. And I chimed in and I said, you don't need that. All you need to do is this, this, and this, and those things will clear up. And she's a nurse and she had no clue about what I was even referring to. And so it opened up a dialogue for me to have with her about bioidentical hormones, about eating healthier, about taking better care of her body. And once she does that, then these female issues are going to clear up for her. And it was just interesting for me to note that here is a nurse, someone who has been educated in the system and should understand these things, but does not have any idea about her overall health and how to take care of herself. And the same, and another thing that I will bring up about this is that the guy that I was coaching, I was talking to him about self-love. And I think that people miss the self-love part. And because they miss the self-love part, they neglect themselves and they're doing and giving to everyone else. And they're neglecting what their needs are. And their needs are to take care of their self first, put your own oxygen mask on so that you can take care of someone else. So you start your day and it starts at 5:30 a.m. and you go through your routine and you go to work and then you come home and then you fix dinner and you got kids. And then at the end of the day, you're so exhausted and then you get up and do it all over again. You've neglected yourself and not put yourself first. And I think that's another reason why, or another thing that comes into play when it comes to health and fitness and overall well-being for people.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I just realized that is so true. You know, so many people spend more time, helping others than actually helping themselves. And my guess is perhaps is that there's an immediate gratification when you do something nice for somebody else. There's that social proof when people say, oh, thank you, or great, or they feel good, and other people see that, and then they feel good, now you feel good. And so it's contagious in a sense, and it's very easy to do, and it's immediate.
Yeah.
And so it's easier almost to love somebody else and forget to love you, because that's work. Because the way that you want to love yourself is by doing all these things that take time. It costs money. It requires some discipline, and quite frankly, requires thought. And it's interesting you say that, because I caught myself this morning, there's a system that helps you organize yourself. And I kept on putting it off. I kept on putting it off because I realized how much work is involved in just this part. As much as I know how wonderfully effective it is for me to have a much better day, you put those things off because they're work, and so you forget about you. So that's kind of tragic.
Yeah. Well, and you know what else happens is that with this, we've been conditioned in our society that taking care of ourselves is selfish and it's wrong. And it's not wrong. And so that was a conditioning that I had to get through. Now, for me, I've always exercised. I mean, this has been a part of my life since I was 18 years old. So this has never been an issue. However, seeing myself as selfish and serving myself in other ways, I had a really hard time with. So I've had to come to terms with what is selfish and what is healthy self-care. And healthy self-care is taking 30 to 45 minutes a day to make sure you exercise and you get your heart racing and pumping and getting your endorphins going and making sure that you're taking care of your overall health. Healthy self-care is maybe spending a little bit more on organic groceries,
right,
than just going and getting the cheapest thing, or going and shopping in the middle of the grocery store. I'm a huge advocate that you perimeter shop if you're going to a major grocery store. You don't need to go to the middle. There's nothing in the middle that is necessary for you to buy. It's all on the perimeter. So anyway, so the cheap stuff though is in the middle because it's all processed food. And so we automatically go, oh, I got to feed all these people. So we go automatically to the middle of the grocery store, and we're neglecting ourselves. And we're also teaching those people that we're helping, raise, to eat that way too. So we're teaching them to neglect and to go for that option. So.
Yeah, interesting you say that, because it's the influence of our environment is so powerful, and starts, when we're babies, naturally, because, we want to belong, we want to fit in, and we're following all these different programs. But what's really fascinating, though, and to think about the enormous amount of money invested in marketing food products. I don't know the exact number, but it's just crazy enormous. I mean, it's crazy how much is invested in that, because in a sense, we get hypnotized with our foods, because the ingredients in the foods, are almost addictive. They're dialed into, our senses, what our senses respond best to. And it's sort of like, it's the joke when with the potato chips, you take one and you're done. You have to. And interesting too is that the size of those packages. I mean, there's scientifically researched that certain size where you just get enough that you finish the whole thing, but it's not too big where you realize, well, I can't eat all of that, so you stop. And so it's amazing how much influence. And so being selfish, in a sense, I liken the term being self-actualized.
Yeah.
So that you do focus on you, because the more that you get to take care of you, like you say, loving yourself, the more that you get to take care of other people. But you're right. So often we're made wrong. So do you coach people with that part? I mean, how do you help them get dialed in to realize that they really need to take care of themselves?
Well, I do month-long programs. And so when they're inside my program, then that's when that kind of coaching starts. And I have daily coaching. I do a Facebook group basically, and I do a daily coaching on making sure they're taking care of themselves, making sure that they're working out. I also hold myself accountable, and I hold myself accountable to the people that I coach. So if I ask someone to do something, I've already done it, or I am doing it. So I never ask someone to do something. I believe in integrity, and I believe in authenticity. And so when I'm coaching someone, I'm also living that as well. So I set up these groups, and I have everyone hold each other accountable and make it fun. And that's that's how I incorporate all of that.
It's and I think that's important, because if you don't participate in the group dynamics, if you will, then you basically deselect yourself from that group dynamic, from that family, that accountability. But it requires a lot of strength from someone like yourself to be able to maintain that. So do you get your support from anyone? I mean, is there a way that, you get that, also that support, the accountability factor, or, whatever it is that you need to stay with integrity for the rest of the group? Because that must be tough.
Absolutely. There's always a coach of a coach. And so I have plugged myself into Tony Robbins, which is how I met you, is plugging yourself into Tony. And that environment has been incredibly impactful in my life for a lot of reasons. I've met some amazing people, but the personal development that you do, and I have a coach through Tony Robbins that I speak with every other week. So she's holding me accountable, and so that's how I do it. I have also high standards for myself, and standards are what is going to take you to the next level. And so by me having high standards for myself and meeting those standards and holding myself accountable to them, and then having my coach hold me accountable, and then surrounding myself with people who have high standards. That's how I'm able to maintain my health and my fitness. And then when we draw a meaning, I was talking to the guy that I was coaching today, I was talking to him about this. It's drawing a meaning to something that impels you to continue on. So what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. When I got divorced a couple of years ago, I could have made a meaning to the whole marriage, the whole situation, to make it mean that I was bitter, that I would be, that I would go after everything, that I would, harbor resentment, all of these things. Mm-hmm. However, the meaning that I chose to give to my relationship and to our separation and divorce was that I cherished the moments that I had with him, and it was time for us to let each other go. And that this time, the last couple of years, has been a growth process for me. And because I gave it a better meaning than resentment, hate, all of those negative feelings, I was able to walk through that whole entire process more gracefully. So whatever meaning that you give, so I give the meaning of exercise. If I don't exercise, then I feel terrible.
Right.
So I have a meaning associated to exercise to feeling good. And a lot of people have a meaning associated to exercise as making them feel bad or painful or, oh my gosh, I got to get through this. Well, right. My meaning isn't like that. My meaning is, this is amazing. It makes me feel so good. I radiate whenever I'm exercising. I clear my mind when I'm exercising. I have really positive associations to exercise and to good food. And that really makes the difference. And holding myself accountable and making sure I'm meeting my standards of the kind of life that I want to live.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because, I also liken it to the fact that people are just simply not aware of what in the environment actually does affect them. And in particular, it's the food. Mm-hmm. So it just seems that unconsciously, a lot of people make this association of feeling good with different types of foods, maybe because of the environment, maybe it's because it's an anchor somewhere in their life that was a wonderful time. It's sort of like the grandmother's cookies, and you smell them, and interesting enough, it's supermarkets, they display these foods, and then the smell, and then you associate with that, and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta buy these things. Yep. And so you're right, because it almost seems that there's this association of lots of pain when you do things that are actually good for you, because either they're work or there is a physical amount of pain involved as well, because working out, quite frankly, it can be painful. Yeah. And but you're right too, because you mentioned earlier, people have the release of endorphins, and that's like the internal morphine drug within us that makes us feel good. And as we do work out, those then begin to circulate in the body, and then you actually do feel good. But you're right again, it's about what meaning you give things. And this is really also what my platform is so much about, is when we're running all sorts of programs that we've learned, from childhood, and getting that new information is vital. And that's why it's so great, people like yourself who are dedicated to helping others see the same thing. So with your Facebook page, helping, groups of people get together so that they can change their lives, because that's an awesome gift that, we need help to get. Yeah.
And, going back to what you were saying too about exercise being painful and people's association to it, diet is a huge, huge factor. Mm-hmm. And, with diet, if we're eating things that our body does not know how to process, if we're eating toxins and we're drinking toxins, soda is a toxin. People are not going to want to hear this, but coffee is a toxin. So when we're taking in that stuff, then our joints ache and we feel sluggish and we don't, we're just not working. Our body is not working at an optimal level. We're eating red meat or whatever it is. So in order to really get through some of these tougher workouts or to maintain that level of energy and vitality, we've got to be feeding ourselves a lot of greens and vegetables and things that our body wants and craves and needs in order for it to work the way that we want it to work. So a lot of pain in working out would be relieved with a really great diet and drinking a lot of water. I drink a lot of water. So, that's going to help.
I know I need more water, but it's hard for me to do that on a consistent basis. So do you have any suggestions for that?
I do. I'm a huge water snob. So I have a machine. It's called a Kangen water machine.
Oh, I love that thing.
Yeah. Isn't it the greatest?
I don't have one, but I know about them. So tell us about the Kangen. Do you sell those, by the way?
Well, in order to have one, you have to become a distributor. So I don't really sell them, but somebody could buy one through me. So it's not something I actively do, but I do have a distributorship established with them. So the Kangen water machine basically runs the water through your tap, and it runs the water through a series of plates that are built into the machine. And these plates alkalize the water, and then the water runs through a filter, and then you can drink it. So it's highly alkaline. 9.8, 9.5, that high of alkaline. And then you can also get an acidic level. You don't drink the acid water. You actually can put it on your face. It's antibacterial is the acidic water. So that's only for topical. However, the alkaline-based water there's something to it that makes you crave more and more water. So, I mean, I keep my bottles, and I go through, you're supposed to drink half your body weight in ounces a day. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you're supposed to drink 50 ounces of water, and, you can do the math according to what you weigh. So I just make sure that I drink half my body weight in ounces a day to make sure that I'm maintaining. One of the things that does happen, this is a little health tip for you guys, is you want to add a little bit of salt, just a smidge of Himalayan salt to your water, so that, if you're drinking too much, it can wash out some of the salt content in your body. And you need to have salt in order to have your heart rhythm thrive and all of that stuff. So I just add a little bit of salt here and there. If you are drinking water from a Kangen water machine, you really don't have to, because the content's there. You're not losing it. But, if you're drinking bottled water, tap water, or whatever you're doing, Brita filtered water, you need to add a little bit of salt to your water.
I do that often. I use the pink Himalayan salt as well. So what's interesting, hearing an echo here, I'm not sure what that's from. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can switch that out. All right. One of the things that I found, I'm finding with water, in essence, is the fact that, all the toxins are produced in our body because of metabolism. We metabolize, all the junk that we eat, by the way. And I want to get back to that in a moment. And so our body does get very acidic. And so water is a great way to remove that acid, to help detoxify the body, to clear things out. And then obviously when it's alkaline, the water, then that certainly helps as well. Because what's interesting is this, and, I talk about body intelligence. I talk about energy intelligence. I talk about brain intelligence. But when you talk about body intelligence, if you think about it, our body has 70 trillion cells. And the purpose of each single cell is to survive. I mean, that's it. It's there to survive. And obviously it's got a purpose beyond that, whether it's part of the liver or the heart, or it's a muscle or something like that. But what's interesting that's really coming much more to the forefront right now is, how does a cell respond? And everybody's thinking, well, it's the nucleus, it's the DNA, it's the brain. And it's not. The DNA is not the brain. All the DNA is just a bunch of information. It's a blueprint. And so it's what's happening around the cell that affects how the cell is going to respond. And there's really three things that can happen to it. And, it's trauma, so injury around the cell. So the cell will respond to that. It is the environmental toxins, and 350,000 environmental toxins, and then the internal toxins. And then, our thoughts. And we all seem to forget that. But the key here is to understand is that we are responding to all that. So whatever we get to give our body really determines the fate of that cell, because the cell just wants to survive. It's going to go towards things that are good, and it's going to go away from things that are bad. You're so right when you say the more that we take care of our body, the more that we nurture our body, the more that we give our body stuff that's good for it, guess what? The longer we're going to live, the better life that we're going to have. But again, it's that cultural hypnosis. And so you've done a lot of work recently, I understand. I mean, you're going to all these personal growth events. And what's that been like for you?
Well, let me go back a little bit. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the cellular structure, alkaline diet, toxins, and fat. Because when our body, let me just talk a little bit about alkalinity versus acidity in our body, because a lot of people don't even know about that. In order for your body to thrive, you've got to have a very high alkaline base. And the only way to get that is through eating fruits and vegetables, mainly vegetables, greens. And that brings your blood into a high alkaline base. And whenever you have a high alkaline base of blood, then it's very, very difficult for disease to exist in the body. And that's how you get thriving cells. So what happens when we are not feeding our body and not drinking enough water, and soda does not count as water, as something to drink. So when we're drinking and eating toxins, then what happens is our cells, the cells that want to live, that are fighting to live, they bind together. And then fat cells bind outside of them. And it's virtually impossible to lose weight, because that fat is there around those cells to protect them from the toxins. So if you are having trouble losing weight, it's because you're too toxic, and your body's not going to release that weight, that fat, until you bring it into an alkaline state and you get it a little bit more balanced. Then it'll start to release the fat, and it'll release it pretty easily and pretty quickly. But you gotta start eating right and drinking enough water. So just kind of wanted to go over that so that people have an understanding of why they may not be losing weight, and the alkaline importance of drinking enough water and making sure that you're
water. I just drank a whole glass just now.
Hey, yeah, that's awesome. So and anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's awesome, and maybe I'll talk to you offline later on, because I do need to buy me one of those systems and get more alkaline water. I mean, there are certain things that I do. I use lemons, and you can do that. I also do the apple cider vinegar from Bragg's and stuff like that. And that's good. I work with isogenics with some cleansing and stuff like that. And yes, you are so right. But the challenge that we have, I mean, honestly, let's be real about this, is that you have people that say smoking is good, and you hear a lot of people that say that coffee is good. So obviously we know that smoking isn't. But a lot of people are working from this premise that, coffee is good. And so it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic that we have to face, is that, what is really good and what isn't. What story is it that do we need to believe in? And I still always come back to the one thing, and is just being in tune with your body. Just really, and I know, you're doing a phenomenal job, with that. because you're in tune with yourself. You know what feels good. Just, realize you eat something and how do you get to feel afterwards. And when you feel really lousy a couple hours after your food, then guess what? It is what you're eating.
I know. People want to take antacids.
Yeah.
It's probably what you ate. Yeah. And you probably shouldn't do it.
So one thing on a personal level, and getting back to, what we believe in is when I go shopping, I buy a lot of fruits and vegetables and everything else. And then unfortunately I keep them too long and then I have to throw them away because I love taste. And again, it's a lot of work to get those vegetables, tasting good. So do you have any suggestions for people to help them with that process of preparing food and making it taste really good so that they can more of it?
It's funny that you're bringing this up because I was just thinking along those lines. So we're like connected. And that is something that people bring up a lot because they enjoy food, they enjoy taste, they enjoy their sweets and desserts and stuff like that. And so, one of the things that I learned from Tony and Sage Robbins is that they have a zag day. And so, they're zigging, and basically they're eating well and drinking well. And then they'll zag and they'll allow themselves to have a treat and indulge a little bit. So, and it also goes back to the meaning that you give fruits and vegetables. So I get a lot of times, I don't eat any greens, or, I don't eat, any of that because of whatever reason. So it goes back to the meaning that you associate to fruits and vegetables and the way that it makes you feel and the way that it tastes. And, like I made a salad today and it was just beautiful. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like so pretty. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I look at it and I'm like, gosh, that's amazing. But for another person, they'll look at a salad and go, oh my gosh, I got to eat that. It's so gross, So it's the meaning and the association that you give to the taste. I put olive oil on a lot of stuff. I feel like olive oil gives a taste to a lot of things that help. The other thing that will happen too is as you train your taste buds and as you start to eat better and better, and you clear your body of toxins, then those kinds of foods will start to taste good. And when you eat something toxic and you eat something that is not good for you, that won't taste good to you. Right. I couldn't tell you the last time I was at a McDonald's, and I just would probably throw up if I ate it, just because the association that I have to it, but my taste buds, I just have no desire whatsoever to eat that way. So, it's really about training yourself, and every single person is capable of doing it. If they work, at it, everyone has trained themselves to do something one way or the other. So you've either trained yourself to eat bad or you've trained yourself to eat good, and it's very capable. You're very capable of doing the opposite.
Right. And you're absolutely right, because the only reason you're eating what you're eating now is because you trained yourself to eat that, whether it's good or not, it doesn't matter. And the same thing with McDonald's and they've done so well is because it's very quick. It's very convenient. And that's why I looked up here, because once in a while, you got to eat when you got to eat. I'm not so organized and prepared. Yeah. But what's interesting, again, what I get to experience is that, after you consume something like this and you notice your body and it's like, oh, I couldn't have done that. The same thing with pizza for me. I can't eat pizza unless it's gluten-free. And when it's gluten-free, it's just, wow, this is awesome. This is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what tips do you have for people as far as the workout regimen? What are things that you feel work best for people or that's convenient? Is there a particular style that you like? Why don't you?
Well, for me, for years, I've been doing Beachbody workouts because they're on DVD or they're on demand. I'm a Beachbody coach now as of the last 8 months or so.
Oh, great.
So, so before that, I was still doing Beachbody workouts, and they're very convenient. Take them on the road. I used to travel for my business every single week. And so, every single week I was in a new hotel. And so that just made it easy. And I could do it from home, and I didn't have to go to a gym. For me, getting up, in the wintertime, and it's, 12 degrees outside. For me to go to the gym is just not an option. So I just do it at home, and I do it to a DVD, and I have several different options. You know, an option that I started with was one called 21 Day Fix. It takes 21 days to form a habit. So it's a really good workout, and it's really easy. It's 30 minutes a day. And a lot of my clients that come in, I put them into that first. And then when they're ready to basically upgrade or, you know, go with something a little bit more difficult, then I'll put them into a different one. But I start a lot of people with 21 Day Fix because of how simple and 30 minutes a day and you're done, and you get some great results from it. So yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like
program.
that
I think it works really well.
Yeah.
And I guess you don't need a beach for that, right?
No. You know, a gym is also kind of intimidating to people, especially women. Women of a certain age, they're not really sure what to do with the weight machines or with, you know, what's there. I mean, I know for myself, I never really lifted weights until last year. And so for me to go to a gym and look at all the machines and what do I do with this? And then I'm sitting there reading the directions. Or, you know, a lot of people don't want to hire a personal trainer. You know, the Beachbody workout DVDs are a lot less expensive option to a trainer. So, you know, it just gives people that option. They can work out from home. They don't have anybody watching them. And they don't have to feel self-conscious, you know, and they just kind of like grow at their own pace.
So for most people then, actually, this can be really convenient simply because you don't have to buy a whole bunch of equipment either. And indeed, you know, with that as well, sometimes the serious gym equipment can actually do more harm than good, right?
Yeah, it can. You know, like I said, I traveled nonstop for my business for many, many years, 7 years. And so every single week I was going to a different place. So it just made it really, really easy for me to just take my P90X or whatever it was that I was doing at that time along with me. And, you know, I would either do something in my hotel room or I'd go down to the hotel gym. And the hotel gyms most of them are stocked with weights and stuff like that, you know. One of the things that has come up recently is the Airbnb. A lot of people are starting to stay at Airbnbs, so there's not the gym option.
Right.
So, you know, if you need weights, you got to start to get a little creative if you're going to stay in an Airbnb. But you can do cardio, you can do weight resistance with your own body weight, and still get some great results from that.
Interesting.
So
you being a coach, are there certain things that you help people with when it comes down to specifically motivating?
Yeah, I do. In my Facebook groups that I start, because I do it in a group, you know, I post on there every day. I shoot videos about once a week so that I'm helping to motivate and maintain that connection with the people that I'm coaching. If people want a personal one-on-one call with me, I also do that. I have several clients that I do that with. Not every client wants that. And so I just offer that to people that want it. So yeah, there's different ways that I keep people motivated.
So one of the things that I found as well as a coach, I'm also a life coach, and is helping people understand, you know, that there's a compelling future for them. Is that something that you ever use with them as a motivator as to, okay, this is what you can look like? Does that kind of help? Have you ever done anything like that?
Yes, definitely. You know, and the thing that I also do is I start people where they are. You know, one of the clients that I was recently working with was someone who has COPD. And so it's a lung disease. And so I was helping her get started. And I actually started her out with some very simple Qigong exercises because Qigong is very good at eliminating toxins and kind of basically squeezing out your lungs. And with a lung disease, I wanted to help her gain strength with her lungs. So I started her out there and met her where she was at, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't start her where she was going to feel defeated going into the program, because she hadn't worked out in many, 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 many years. And so she was completely just out of shape in every way. And she hadn't been eating well, obviously. So for her, so for my clients, I meet them where they're at, and I start them where they're at and then go from there. So I do an analysis on their current level of fitness and where they want to go, and then go from there. Because that's the best way. If you overwhelm somebody, so, one of the programs that I just finished was a program called Hammer and Chisel. It was a pretty tough program for me, and I've been working out for a long time. So if I started a newbie in that program, they would be overwhelmed, and after the first workout experience, they'd be sore, and they would probably want to quit within the first week. And so really monitoring where people are at when they come in, and putting them in a program and giving them a schedule is what really helps them stay motivated.
It's interesting you say that, because it really is about being able to make it, easily successful. I think so often what happens is that things just seem to be so hard and overwhelming, and also there's like perhaps with too many choices as well. And these are factors that just prevent people from moving forward, because for one, if there's too many choices in something, that's all these different machines, then you're always constantly, second guessing stuff. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right machine? Am I going to get the results? And all that kind of stuff. And unless, of course, you have a coach, a personal trainer that can also help guide you. But even in that time, I had a personal trainer, which was a phenomenal trainer, but he didn't help me on the level of, okay, we're doing the right thing. And so I didn't really feel good, and I wasn't getting the results. And I just said, forget it, quit. I'm the kind of guy that needs the help, but I also need to see results. And, I also came out with a book, 52-Week Success Plan, and sort of steps, to personal growth and your own personal success. And the whole premise of that book was making it easy for people to succeed. Unless you're in the realm of personal growth, like you are, like I am, I wish everybody was in that, because it's such a wonderful journey to be able to continuously grow. And people find that kind of bizarre, and it's always interesting how people are so critical of coaches as well. But that's really a neat vehicle to be introduced to new possibilities, new solutions, to become even aware of your own personal limitations, and have somebody point those out, because sometimes we don't like to see them. But then you're committed to that growth. And I do that every single day. And I know you do that, and you have coaches that coach you. I have coaches that coach me, and I don't always agree with them, but they're pointing things out that I start looking at, and maybe a year later, it's like, you know what, my coach was right. I should have done that. So it's making it easy for people to succeed. And I like what you're saying is that, you help people start where they are at, where they find themselves at. And I think that's a big challenge for a lot of people, because again, it's all about the social proof. And when you look on TV and you see these celebrities or these workout, programs, and you see these incredible bodies, and your brain says, well, at least my brain said that, I'm never going to look like that.
Yeah. Mine says, how many hours a day are they in the gym? Because I don't have hours,
Right. So do you do anything specific with that in particular? Is that, that culture hypnosis that kind of prevents us? I mean, I know you said something right now about helping them not be overwhelmed. But are there any tools you suggest that people can use to say, hey, you know what?
Well, there's that saying that success leaves clues. And, one of the things that Tony Robbins talks about, and any of our audience has been to a Tony Robbins event, then you know he's 56 years old and he can jump on stage and go and go and go for 16 straight hours. And one of the things that he said that was really poignant to me, and he said it a few times, is that he wasn't born Tony Robbins, he created it. And we have the option and the opportunity to create what it is that we want to see. And so with exercise and with diet and all of these things, you know, we have an opportunity to say, you know, I don't want to be this way anymore. I want to be that. And it's a journey and a process to get there. We don't arrive there overnight. But it is something that we can go for. It is something that we can achieve. And so when it comes to motivating people and giving them a place to start, and, you know, and the other thing that you were talking about too, is that after a while you got to a point where you basically plateaued. And a lot of people will plateau and they won't have any more increased results. And so then they get frustrated or they get lackadaisical and they want to leave the process. And it's really about then confusing your muscles and having them do something different. So you start out with one program and you do that a few times and you get your muscles built up and you get your stamina built up. Then you switch to a new one and you do a new one, and then you can switch back or you can go to another one. So it's a process of constantly confusing your body and constantly changing it up. The other thing about that is that we do have a need for variety. And so when we're constantly changing their workout programs and what we do, then we're getting that stimulation and that variety of, okay, I got something to look forward to today that's different. I'm not doing the same thing every single day. That helps to motivate people too. So I just finished a 60-day program, and I loved it. It was great. It was a really fun program for me to do. Now I'm on to a different one because I want a different experience. And so anyway, it's doing those sorts of things. It's mixing it up, giving yourself some variety. Same with food. You know, you can get really bored with just salads every day. But you know, if you do you know, different recipes and you try different things, then you can give yourself some variety and keep it interesting and keep it fun.
You know, and it's interesting you say that, because I think at some point our body, you know, reaches a kind of like set point. And I know weight, you know, they talk about set points, and I don't know how much validity there is in that specifically, but I do know that, you know, when I start losing weight, I started on a certain program, and then I hit, you know, a plateau. It's like I can't go below it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try that thing out, what you just suggested. Try something different, because I was doing the same things all the time, and I got frustrated. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, I can't lose any more weight. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm trying this and trying that, and it's not working. And then you kind of sort of give up, because as I was losing weight, I was getting really excited. It's like, wow, okay, this is working. Yeah. You know, until it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not that it didn't work. It's just that your body got used to what you were doing. And so it just said, okay, and then it plateaus, and that's just what your body does. That's why these HIIT exercises, high intensity interval training, is so popular right now, because it does that to your body. So you'll do a high interval and you'll work out, get cardio, and then you'll rest for 30 seconds. High interval, rest for 30 seconds. High interval, rest for 30 seconds. And by doing that, it tricks your body basically into releasing more weight and into building more muscle. So that's why those kind of workouts have been so popular. And plus, you know, you can do them anywhere, anytime. So it's really about just keeping it fun, keeping it simple, keeping the variety going. And variety is the spice of life, and it's the spice of life in all areas. I mean, it goes for relationships, it goes for your job, it goes for anything that you do in life. If you do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, you're going to get really, really bored with it, and you're not going to grow. You're going to stop, you're going to plateau, and then eventually you go backwards and you go negative. So your life is a constant state of growth, and it's a constant state of advancement. And we've got to remember that it's not do this, and you get to stop. It's constant growth, because if you're not growing, you're dying.
So are you saying that I should change partners every 7 years?
No, but you do have to keep your relationship interesting.
No, and that's so true too. And you're absolutely 100% right. Because it really is about, having that variety. And as you say, particularly with our food, is that you've got to have this variety, because our body requires different nutrients. And the same thing with relationships. And I think one of the failures in relationships is that people aren't maintaining that variety, that spice of life. And it doesn't mean a different relationship, it's that within that relationship, they're no longer doing the work. And I agree totally with your body. And it's interesting because they've done studies, and I think it was like the Swiss or the Austrian, paratroopers, and they were doing these studies how they would do the interval thing and kind of practice even giving them a full break of a couple of days in their training, and realized that they did so much better than the people that were very always consistent. Same with cyclists too. And doing those intervals, and like you said, tricking the body that something's different, because you're so right about that. Because when you think about it, is that the body is so clever, if you will, in the sense that it's going to adapt very quickly. I mean, just take the eye, for example. Because people are not aware of this, but the eye makes, very, very, very small shifts constantly, which is called nystagmus. And the reason it does that is because light that falls onto the receptors, it's so ultra sensitive that they adapt, within nanoseconds, if you will. And if the eye wasn't moving as much as it does, then suddenly we would be blind. And studies show that when you show a light or an object on the bot and on the eye, and it totally follows the movement of the eye, after a while you don't see it. And so you're absolutely 1,000% right that people do need to change things around, because the body's going to adapt to it and then make all the adjustments so that you don't make that progress.
Yeah. And a lot of people do have a huge problem with change. And if there's only one constant in the universe, and that is change, and things are constantly going to be changing, evolving, growing, because if it's not growing, it's dying. And so what we resist persists. And so when we accept change, no matter what kind of change it is, positive or negative, and we walk through it gracefully, and we don't resist it, then we can really learn a lot from it. We can really grow from it, and we can really take a lot from it. So embracing that is the best way. And and when we're talking about working out, and we're talking about doing different workouts and changing that up, those are relatively small changes, but a lot of people don't think of them because they're so busy in their life, and things are going 100 miles an hour, especially, moms that are single and they're taking their kids all over the place and trying to manage a job and children and extracurricular activities and manage themselves. They can become overwhelmed. And by changing things up and by working out and eating right, I can promise anyone who adapts to that lifestyle, they're going to find it a lot easier to make it through life, and to make decisions, and to not be so irritable or not allow things to overwhelm them, and all of that. Because our diet and the exercise, it not only plays into our body image and what we look like and how we feel, but it plays into the other systems of our body, plays into our hormonal system, our thyroid system, our metabolism, our adrenals, our organs, our endocrine system. All of those systems are attached. And when one is out of whack, the rest of them are out of whack. And so when we bring the diet and the exercise back into balance, and we start to tune our body to a balance, that is when we can react to things more gracefully, or we can get through our days better. It's so important. It's more than just what you look like. it's everything.
No, you're absolutely right. And well, I'd like to add to that as we wrap up the show is simply this. You mentioned Tony Robbins earlier, and it really also comes down to our identity. And I know that you coach people on that. I coach people on that. And the way that we can make major shifts for people is just start assuming a different identity. And if your identity is you're someone that slumbers on the couch, you're a couch person, well then guess what, that's exactly what you're going to do. And as Robbins talks about all the time, the strongest force in human behavioral psychology is to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. So part of what needs to happen, and people kind of struggle with this thought, but you just have to assume a new identity. And if it's you want to be a really fit person, then you start looking at identities like Adonis or Hercules or whatever. But it does actually work.
It does, absolutely.
Yeah. And so again, for any of the listeners listening, when it comes to having that identity of being that healthy person, having the energy, having the stamina, having the endurance, all these things, start associating that identity with that person. And I know that's what you do as well for yourself as well as for others.
Yeah, absolutely. My identity is firmly based in someone who is healthy and fit and loves all of that aspect.
No, absolutely. And it shows, of course. And what's great then is that, you're the social proof for others, to follow. And you mentioned earlier, one of the easiest things that we can do is we just model success. And again, it's a concept that so few people really understand. They're thinking, well, I just have to follow these instructions. No, you've got to model success. Success leaves clues. Do what the other people are doing successfully. And when you're not that successful at it, when you're not getting the results, then obviously, it's something that's missing. It's sort of like that recipe for making a chocolate cake. If you have the wrong order or the wrong ingredient, or you're missing an ingredient, it's not going to work. The same thing with phone numbers. If the numbers, the digits in a phone number are in a different order, you're going to get something entirely different. And so,
yeah, exactly.
So I really appreciate you, Jenn. And I put down your website, www.jennedwards.com. This is an amazing human being, a wonderful light for anyone who wants to change life, who wants to transform their body. Really connect with her, because you will get results. And she's an incredible example of what is possible and also desirable. So make sure you check her out. I want to thank you, Jenn, for today. And
thank you.
I am Dr. Bart Rademaker, prescription for your transformation, #real people, #real conversations. It's really bringing the conversations of so many wonderful people out there. They're not in the mainstream, they're not on TV, but they have the solutions and the opportunities for you to make that shift in your life. It's tapping into that intelligence that's around us, the intelligence that's also accessible to us. Sometimes when we check into all these things that are on TV, we're not able to get access to them. But Jenn is someone that you have access to. You want to change your life, go there, tap into your authentic genius so that you can live the life that you desire. So thank you so much, Jenn, and we'll be having more conversations in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and just really quick, I must have told you the wrong. It's www.jennedwardsfitness.com.
Oh, okay, let me get that right.
So if you go to jennedwards.com, they're going to get a photographer.
Oh, we don't want that. So it's www.jen.
So it's jennedwardsfitness.com. And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I just have a passion for sharing and talking about this topic to help people with their lives to live a better life. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And again, for anybody who wants to make a change in their life, it's people like Jenn that can make that happen. So thank you once again. Till next time.
Thanks.